Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining today's virtual seminar. I am Nindya Ayutari from LPPI as your Master of Ceremony. This seminar is a collaboration event between LPPI and RFI Foundation. Today we are presenting how Indonesia's financial institutions and stakeholders respond to climate-related financial risk. This seminar also supported by Bank Syariah Indonesia and media partner Majalah Stabilitas. We appreciate you taking time off your busy schedule to join us today. We hope you will find this program we have lined up for you to be fruitful and engaging. Just a little housekeeping before we get started for the audience in Google Meet room. Please kindly mute your microphone during seminar. Please do not click Present Now button, and you can turn on your captions if you need it. And for Google Meet and YouTube participants, if you have any questions during the presentations, please type your questions into chat column, and we will bring them up to be discussed on our Q&A session. And presentation decks and link e-certificate will be shared at the end of the seminar. Ladies and gentlemen, before the presentations from our prominent speakers, we would like to invite President Director of LPPI, Mr. Mirza Aditya Swara, to deliver an opening remark. Mr. Mirza Aditya Swara, the time is yours.
Thank you, Nindi. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Yang kami hormati Ibu Nur Haida, the Vice Chairman of Otoritas Jasa Keuangan, and also kami hormati Bapak Ernawan, Deputy Commissioner of OJK, kami hormati Bapak Ade Cahyo Nugroho from Bank Syariah Indonesia, and also kami hormati Ibu Francisca Oi from Bank CIMB Niaga, Director, and also speaker from RFI, Mr. Blake Gold. Also our moderator is Ibu Rizky Asari. Ibu Nur Haida, Mr. Recall and Bapak Ibu sekalian, this seminar is a joint seminar between LPPI and RFI, is the Responsible Finance and Investment Foundation. So today we assigned MOU with RFI to conduct joint cooperation with regard to the sustainable financing. So we will have a seminar, training, joint between together between LPPI and RFI. Bapak Ibu sekalian, ladies and gentlemen, so this is I think maybe the fourth or the fifth seminar, virtual seminar for LPPI for this year. Last year we had a virtual seminar since end of April, 37th virtual seminar. So this is our first seminar, international seminar. We conduct in English because RFI also invite their partners in overseas. So we have several participants from overseas, so we conduct the seminar in English. So ladies and gentlemen, we know that the risk of climate risk is a real risk. Yeah, I think the world experienced several catastrophe that's actually related to the climate. So the financial regulator in international, for example, like BIS and also global regulator, financial regulator, they issue already regulations with regard to how to manage the climate risk, how to be sustainable. So in Indonesia, Financial Authority (OJK) also already issued a guidance with regard to the how to manage the climate risk, how to be sustainable, how to be ESG. So ESG topic is becoming important in global world, not only for government but also for financial institution and also for corporation. So today we will have a seminar about we discuss about how to mitigate the climate risk. So again, thank you very much for OJK, Ibu Nuraida, Pak Hermawan, and all the panelists and also the participant contributing, also joining in this virtual seminar. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mirza Aditya Swara. Before we continue, please watch a video of MOU signing between LPPI and RFI Foundations.
I'm pleased to sign this MOU with RFI Foundation on behalf of the LPPI. I look forward to sharing our expertise in joint collaboration to enhance LPPI's activities across Indonesia financial sector. Thank you.
I am pleased to sign this MOU with LPPI on behalf of the Responsible Finance and Investment Foundation, RFI. I look forward to sharing our expertise in joint collaborations to enhance LPPI's activities across Indonesia's financial sector.
Thank you. We can inform you that we have 127 participants joining us on Google Meet, and we have 313 participants on YouTube streaming. And now we would like to invite Mrs. Nurhaida, Vice Chairman of the Board of Commissioners of Financial Service Authority, concurrently Chairman of Ethics Committees, to deliver the speech. Mrs. Nurhaida, the time is yours.
Thank you very much. Yang terhormat Pak Mirza Aditya Swara, distinguished panelists, Bapak Hernawan Besa Songko, Deputy Commissioner of International and Research of OJK, and Ibu Francisca Oy, Compliance Director, Corporate Affairs and Legal, Bank CIMB Niaga, Mr. Blake Goat, Responsible Finance and Investment Foundation, Ibu Rizkia Sari, our moderators today, and all participants of the virtual seminar of the Indonesian Banking Development Institute. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, I would like to appreciate to LPPI for initiating and holding this webinar with the themes of how Indonesia's financial institutions and stakeholders respond to climate-related financial risk. I personally perceive that this webinar is pretty relevant and very timely, of course, with today's situation when we are still engaged with the global pandemic of COVID-19 and a number of natural disasters that occur. We can say both domestically or globally. Moreover, indeed, I'm feeling so grateful to deliver the keynote speech today because I can share ideas and insights in this webinar. And later on, with more relevant technical issues will be shared by our Deputy Commissioner of International and Research of OJK. Ladies and gentlemen, many years ago, a global conversation that began with concern over warming was only discussed probably by scientists or environmentalists. But today it goes beyond that. The evidence that humans are causing climate change with drastic consequences for life on the planet is overwhelming. Nowadays, almost every conversation starts with a concern over how to turn away from climate change for the benefits of our next generation. Sustainability, if I will say, is also currently becoming the most pressing topic of our own and also probably of our children's generation. The result forms the fact that humanity, to a great extent, lives at the expense of the earth and shall thus destroy its own habitat in the foreseeable future. Sustainability in this context means that the quality of not being harmful to the environment or depleting the natural resources and thereby supporting long-term ecological, social, and also governmental balance. Furthermore, if you look at the world of business, we could see from the Unilever study that 21% of the people surveyed across by 5 countries said that they would actively choose brands if they made their sustainability credential clearer on their packaging or in their marketing. 21% of American consumers say that they have punished companies for opposing climate action by avoiding their products. So based on this background, I would like to ask ourselves to take up 3 issues today that are particularly important to be discussed. Ladies and gentlemen, the first issue is about considering about the risk. Climate change is already having an enormous impact, not only rising average temperatures, but also extreme weather, if we already know. It also raises sea levels, natural disasters, and other impacts. All of those changes, like it or not, bring about significant impact on the financial sectors. In the near future, very obvious that investors will be faced with transition and physical risk, which have serious implications for their portfolios. Transition risks are associated with new policies constraining investor action, such as investors might be asked to implement a carbon pricing mechanism. Also, could be litigations should investors fail to abide by a climate legislation. Could also be technology transitions disrupting the existing economic system. Could be market variations. As we know, demand and supply probably shift toward new products and reputational risk to the companies. While physical risk encompass damage to assets, risk to employees and supply chain disruption, in practice, this risk can be shown through the rise of problems assets or non-performing loans of banks and non-bank financial institutions. I may say that this issue can be mitigated, for instance, through disclosing of the climate risk exposure that allow investors to better prepare to meet the challenges posed by climate change. This transition must be carried out in orderly manner so that the risks can be managed and mitigated properly. Few regulators such as UK and also France both had implemented climate-related financial disclosure, which has forced investors to disclose climate risk. So I think and I believe that here in Indonesia we should do the same. Ladies and gentlemen, the second issue I would like to raise is about the opportunity. A change in paradigm from business as usual to sustainability has become a necessity for the future. Increasing environmental, social, and governance or ESG risk pose a challenge for the financial industry to create a new and innovative business opportunities that support a sustainable economy. If we look from the Fidelity International study on more than 2,600 companies, a company's securities performance and ESG rating are very positively correlated, even during the crisis. Equity and fixed income securities by companies with higher ESG rating outperforms those with weaker ESG credential. So I think bank focus on sustainability should go beyond facilitating the issuance of green bonds and extend to the integrating sustainability dimension into project analysis and helping business learn how to comply with environmental, health, and worker safety regulation. Today, people want the organization that they are doing business with to make a positive difference in the world. So the time is right for banks to start thinking about how they can apply an ecosystem strategy and collaborate with regulators as well as with government and other industries and fintech to achieve progress and help create a more sustainable world. In this context, I'm thinking that OJK must put itself as a leader among the domestic and regional authorities, encouraging the Indonesia financial sector for more robust adapting the climate risk, despite question of the financial benefits that still prevail. Ladies and gentlemen, the third issue that I would like to bring about is about public pressure toward green products and services. In general, the requirements of sustainable finance are not only driven by the political factors and also policymakers or regulators. In fact, there is huge pressure also from the customer side. Requests for green financial products are ever more enormous, as well as the refusal to invest in companies which are, from customers' perspective, not in line with the new sustainability demands. Consequently, the financial service providers are not only under a growing pressure from their investors and rating agencies to implement adequate measure of sustainable management and behavior, but they are also now facing a new competitors, which is the companies which heavily target sustainability as their major business case pillar. The changing customer preference has influenced all domains of financial service provider, including technology. IT raises fundamental questions at the top management level, as well as the sales level and all internal units in the company. At the management level, for example, a sustainability strategy must be developed, and the effects of this strategy for the reputation should be analyzed. And at the risk management level, the lending and compliance risk should be assessed, and if necessary, new specifications have to be prepared. And last, at the sales level, new product opportunities, the impact of new benchmarks and changes in customer demands should be taken into account. Sustainable finance also affects the IT department, which must collect all process data, and they also have to look the possibility to reduce resource consumption, for instance, by means of automation. So these things are not easy, of course, and it's not simple, but we have to respond to these changes. Ladies and gentlemen, to respond all this issue, I'm talking about how we do it in OJK. OJK has always been committed to supporting global commitments and national priorities through the implementation of sustainable finance. In 2014, for instance, OJK released what we call a roadmap for sustainable finance phase 1, which was implemented for 2015 until 2019. This roadmap gives guidance for the financial services industry to promote financial or sustainable development through the Sustainable Finance Initiative. And between 2015 and 2019, OJK in laws related to sustainable finance, including OJK rule, the OJK regulation number 51 of 2017, on the implementation of sustainable finance, and also OJK regulation number 60 of 2017 on green bonds and other related regulations that have been enacted by OJK. The implementation of the roadmap itself in phase 1 has led to a number of findings that should be addressed. Some findings that we have are relatively, among them are low awareness and participation of financial institutions, limited research on sustainable finance, lack of understanding of business possibilities in the green sectors, and also some other findings. To address these findings and to further promote sustainable finance, OJK focuses its roadmap phase 2 on building what we call a comprehensive ecosystem of sustainable finance. A comprehensive ecosystem of sustainable finance is created to increase financial institution competitiveness and reputation, to strengthen financial institutions' capacity, also to increase sustainable finance literacy, and most importantly, increase financial institutions' contribution to the implementation of SDGs and climate change. We realize that transformation to a more sustainable economy requires enormous investments. The financial sector, as an intersection for capital allocation, is to play a major role to promoting sustainability and sustainable management. At the same time, ladies and gentlemen, the management of ESG risk factors becomes increasingly a prerequisite for a resilient company and therefore a factor of utmost importance for the financial system as a whole. Ladies and gentlemen, let me close my remark by saying that these things all need to a lot of effort and continuous hard work and collaboration of all concerned stakeholders in the field of sustainable finance. We also need to understanding the climate risk comprehensively, that such will result in substantial accomplishment in the implementation of sustainable finance in Indonesia. Lastly, I would like to wish you all the very best wishes and hoping that you have an excellent and fruitful discussion in this webinar. Thank you very much and good afternoon to everyone.
Thank you, Mrs. Nurhaida, for the keynote speech. Ladies and gentlemen, due to the other duties that must be carried out by Mrs. Nurhaida, with all due respect, Mrs. Nurhaida will leave this room. Thank you, Mrs. Nurhaida, for participating in our virtual seminar.
Thank you very much.
Terima kasih Bu Nuraida, terima kasih.
Terima kasih Pak Mirza, maaf live duluan ya. Ada agenda lain. Terima kasih.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, we are fortunate to have 4 prominent experts speaking today. We have firstly Mr. Hernawan Besa Songko, Deputy Commissioner of International and Research Indonesia Financial Supervisory Authority or OJK. And second, we have Mrs. Francisca Oy, Compliance, Corporate and Affairs and Legal Director of Bank CIMB Niaga. Mr. Ade Cahyo Nugroho, Finance and Strategy Director of Bank Syariah Indonesia. And lastly, we have Mr. Blackgood, CEO of RFI Foundation. Now, without further ado, we will turn the time over to our moderator, Mrs. Rizkia Sari Yudawinata, Sustainable Finance Program Lead from WWF Indonesia. Mrs. Rizkia, time is yours.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Ibu Nindya, for the introduction, and thank you for having me as the today's moderator. Good afternoon, distinguished speakers and participants. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to this exciting webinar.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to this exciting webinar session on how Indonesia's financial institutions and stakeholders respond to climate-related financial risks, co-hosted by LPPI as a Center of Sustainable Finance Knowledge and Responsible Finance and Investment Foundations. My name is Rizkia Sari Yudawinata. I am working for WWF Indonesia, and thank you for joining us, and I am happy and honored to be the today's moderator session. Distinguished speakers, ladies and gentlemen, considering the importance of today's topic, we are, as mentioned also earlier by Ibu Nurhaida, we are witnessing 2 global pressing challenges, the pandemic and the anticipated climate and environmental degradation risk. According to the 2021 Global Risk Report published by the World Economic Forum, extreme weather, climate action failure, and human environmental damage are the 3 top risks identified by likelihood. Infectious disease came at the 4th place. And at the same time, infectious disease and climate action failure came at the top risk in terms of its impact scale. According to IPCC Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, with a high confidence note, human activities are estimated to have caused approximately 1 degree Celsius of global warming above in pre-industrial levels, with a likely range about 0.8 degree to 1.2 degree. And if it continues to increase at the current rate, global warming is likely to reach 1.5 degree between 2030 and 2052. And certainly, financial sector is prone to the implications of climate change, physical and social risks, macroeconomic shocks, and financial losses caused by extreme events or changing weather patterns, anticipated financial losses resulting on climate change, such as rising sea level on credit secured by coastal real estate, for instance, and finance institutions also prone to a transition to a low carbon economy due to changing policy and consumer preference. By the fact that Indonesia is one of the world's largest emitters of greenhouse gases, the government of Indonesia has committed to reduce GHG emissions by 29% against a 2030 business as usual scenario, and up to 41% subject to international assistance for finance, technology transfer, and capacity building. And if no significant changes in place to pursuing these efforts, we will be likely surpassing the 1.5 degree and pose to a greater financial risk. And therefore, it is deemed necessary that financial sectors are ramping up its strategy to measure and manage the anticipated risk towards 2030. And encouragingly, a few important commitments have been made by regulators and financial institutions, both at global and regional level. Regulators have acknowledged the importance to measures and manage climate-related risks through joining the Network for Greening the Financial System platform, and banks are increasingly joining the Principle for Responsible Banking, and also there is a growing investor demand over climate-related risk disclosures aligned with the Task Force on Climate-Related Financial Disclosures recommendations, and making serious pledge on climate actions. Indonesia also joined the Coalition of Finance Minister for Climate Action that currently our Minister of Finance is selected as the co-chair of the coalition, which aimed at bringing collective action to take into account in macroeconomic policy to mobilize private sources of climate finance by facilitating investment and the development of financial sector, which supports mitigation and adaptation. So in the next 1 hour or so, we will hear the views from today's distinguished speakers from Bapak Hernawan, Deputy Commissioner on International and Research Otoritas Jasa Keuangan, Bapak Ade Cahyo Nugroho, CFO dari Bank Syariah Indonesia, Compliance, Corporate Affairs and Legal Director, Ibu Francisca Wi dari CMB Niaga, and also Mr. Blake Goud from the Responsible Finance and Investment Foundation. In order getting update of each institution journey and taking into account of climate-related risks into their overall business strategy, including highlight the challenges and solutions to date, I would like to firstly invite the first honorable and distinguished speaker, Bapak Hernawan B. Sasongko, Deputy Commissioner of International and Research, OJK. I would like to read his short profile. First, in advance, Bapak Hernawan has been working in the field of economics ever since he has graduated from his bachelor degree. He began his career in Bank Indonesia in 1989 and currently a deputy commissioner in OJK. His seasoned experience in economics shows that he has a high competency to work in the field of banking and finance. This can be seen through his role as a senior researcher, economic analyst, be it in Bank Indonesia New York Representative Office or spearheading the International Department of Bank Indonesia Head Office. Aside from having vast experience in the field of international banking, Bapak Hernawan has also contributed and participated in the growth of micro, small, and medium enterprise through his tenure in Bank Indonesia Bandung office. I would like to invite Pak Hernawan. Selamat siang, Bapak Hernawan. Salam kenal. To share the phase 2 of OJK Sustainable Finance Roadmap and how OJK respond to the climate-related risks that will impacting to the business process of national financial institutions. Since the time is quite limited, Pak Hernawan, you have 15 minutes, Pak, and kindly allow me to remind you 5 minutes before your session ends. And also, as Pak Hernawan cannot join for the full sessions of this session, then the Q&A session will be taken shortly after you finish your deliver presentation. And thank you, Pak Hernawan, and I over the session to you. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Bu Rizky, the moderators. First of all, yang terhormat Pak Mirza Aditya Aswara dan management of the LPPI, all speakers, Pak Ade Cahyo Nugroho from the Bank Syariah Indonesia, Ibu Francisca Oy from the CMB Niaga, and Mr. Blake Gold from the RFI Foundations, and also for the moderator and all the participants. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
My presentations, I think that I would like to, can I have also the PowerPoints? Yes, sir. I would like to share how the OJK to develop the ecosystem for the sustainable finance, and then so we call that development of sustainable finance ecosystems. This is that we would like to share to all participants of this webinar, then how the OJK will develop the ecosystem to build the sustainable finance. And then the presentations will put in the 5 parts to make it easier and more simple kind of things. One with the agenda, if the first one is why we need to have to focus and highlight the sustainable finance for today, and then the second one is the conceptual framework of the sustainable finance, which is the futures of finance. Please next. And the third one is the implementations of sustainable finance, when we call that roadmap 1, phase 1 of the roadmap 1, while in 2015 to 2019. And next agenda that we would like to explain, that's sustainable finance roadmap phase 2. This is the now that we are doing some initiative and some project or program until 2025, and then what the targeting for the first implementations. That's kind of all those presentations, and I hope it's about 12 and a half minutes of that we can share this. First of all, that's maybe we also would like to next please. Put a quote of from the former governor of the Bank of England, say that company that don't adapt will go bankrupt without questions. So yes, we need to adapt all those changes that we already all those changes. So what kind of change now that we toward on? I mean, that's to the green photo, to the green one. There are 3 key elements to explain why we need a sustainable finance. Well, actually, that's Bu Nur Haida also already explained all of this. But okay, one is the new business paradigms. There is a need to change the mindset of business player from short-term profit into the long-term prosperity that takes into account social and environmental aspects. It's not easy, but it has to be put it there. And then secondly, that's the growing business opportunity. There is a huge investors and consumers demand on green products. So it's a pressure from the investors that they are already taken into account to the amount to the green products. And thirdly, the new risk management. There is a need to keep up with the global trends where standard setting bodies have started to formulate guidance on the implementations of the new risk management, or we call it ESG risks in the financial service sectors. Like what Bu Nur Haida explained before, that's stated in the keynotes. In the near future, that investor will be faced with transition and physical risks, which have serious implications for their portfolios. Transition risks are associated with new policies concerning investors' actions, such as implementations of carbon pricing mechanisms. Litigation should investor fail to abide by climate legislations, technology transitions disrupting the existing economic system, market variance, and reputational risks to the company, while physical risks encompass damage to assets, risk to employee and supply chains disruptions. Disclosing the climate risk exposure should allow investors to better prepare to meet the challenges posed by climate change. So, OJK will prepare a transition process to move of sustainability. So, there's no doubt that we have to move to the sustainability, especially sustainable finance. In the slide after this, the next slide, another reason why financial institutions might shift into sustainable finance is due to the great opportunity and need for green investment that account for around 23 trillion US dollar in 4 sectors, such as renewable energy, transportation, waste management, and green building. We said that this has become a global trend happening in emerging countries. There is a great need for financing or investment to achieve the implementation of SDGs 2020-2030 that amount for more than 67.8 trillion rupiah, where 62% will be funded by the government and 38% by the private sector. In this regard, financial institutions play a highly important role in providing financial financing to achieve SDGs. Now we come to the conceptual framework in the next, please. Yeah, conceptual framework before we go to the sustainable finance roadmap phase 2. Yes, we've taken into account why we need to have focus on taking into account to the sustainable finance. And second one is, as we know that there are global agreements on sustainable development goals already ratified by the government into law number 16, 2016 on Paris Agreement ratifications, and presidential decree number 59 year 2017 on SDGs. As a party to the Paris Agreement, Indonesia is committed to reducing, like before they stated, by 29% in business as usual scenario and targeting a 41% reduction in emission with international assistance. Sustainable goals company comprise of 3 dimensions. They are economic, social, and environment. They are further elaborated in 17 goals and 169 targets that cover wide issues on sustainable development. The Secretariat for SDG in Indonesia, it's on Bappenas. Paris Agreement is a global agreement to respond to climate change. Countries that are parties to the agreement must put their commitment into national determined contributions. Indonesia commitment to Paris Agreement achieved a 29% reduction in emission using a business as usual scenario and targeting 41% decrease in emission with international assistance. Indonesia commitment to Paris Agreement is in line with its effort to reduce greenhouse gases by transition into low carbon. OJK released the Sustainable Finance Roadmap Phase 1 in 2015-2019 as initial step to increase awareness and capacity of the financial services industry to implement environmental, social, and governance aspect to adopt to climate change toward a low carbon economy. Now is the right momentum, we think, for OJK to mention sustainable finance is a new normal era for the financial services sectors that encourage the integrations of social, and environmental aspect into business development. Therefore, it is expected to encourage financial institutions to support the achievement of SDGs and climate change to achieve sustainable growth. We have also conducted brief research on sustainable finance implementations in other places and countries, including European Union, Great Britain, Luxembourg, China, Bangladesh, Mongolia, Brazil, Singapore, Thailand, and Malaysia. So we also doing some kind of research on this, on all those countries. Based on the implementation in the phase 1, roadmap 1, we have created a map for the achievement and findings of the roadmap that are used to develop the sustainable finance roadmap phase 2.
Excuse me, Pak Hernawan, 5
Yep.
minutes left.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
In the slide 7, that's after this. Next, please. Sustainable Finance Roadmap Phase 1 was developed to strengthen financial institutions' resilience and competitive in facing the demand for sustainable-based business. Therefore, the first Phase 1 roadmap focused on enhancing awareness and capacity of financial institutions. Here are what have been accomplished in the roadmap 1, implementation that could be put into four different categories: policy, regulations, awareness, and collaborations. Yeah, stakeholder collaborations. That's the phase 1. While in terms of policies, we have implement in terms of policies, we have delivered 4 key elements as a basis of provisions on sustainable finance. Implementations of 8 sustainable finance principles. We have 8 finance principles from responsible investment principles, sustainable business strategy, social and environmental risk management, government principle, informative communications, and inclusive principle, development priority, and coordinations collaborations. That's from the aspect of the policies. And in the regulations, in terms of regulations, we have OJK regulation number 51, year 2017, implementation of sustainable finance for financial institutions, which is it put a definition of SF, we call it, and requirement for financial institutions to implement SF, to submit SF action plan, to submit sustainable report, and some kind of like administrative sanctions. And in terms of OJK regulations, number 60 on green bonds, also that we fund from the issuance of that securities are used to finance refinance part of the environmentally friendly business activities, and then how to issue the green bonds itself. That's a kind of roadmap 1, and then we need also training. We also training on sustainable finance, which is already 53 batches. That's already doing the training, and then we also have a guidebook for the sustainable credit or financing in the plantations, and the 4th aspect is stakeholder collaborations between ministry and institutions, private and also with the OJK. Next slide is this is a finding of the roadmap phase 1. Yes, we realized that up to now the awareness still low, and the second one that's we also need the sustainable taxonomy, but what we call the green taxonomy, because we need that, because right now we still have no clear definitions of those. A need for stick and carrot incentive, and also a need for green project verificator. Up to now we still don't have that one. And then limited research on sustainable finance, and a need for standards in monitoring and evaluating the implementations of sustainable finance, and need to strengthen internal and external coordinations. Internal means that's internal the OJK, and then between other institutions also. This is the finding of the phase 1 from 2015 to 2019. So we would like to developing of ecosystem of sustainable finance, and while creating a comprehensive ecosystem, sustainable finance, strengthen the financial institutions competitive, and capacity building, increasing financial institution contribution to the implementations of SDG, and increasing sustainable finance literacy. So now we step on roadmap phase 2. This is the last thing. Yes, please. This is the sustainable finance roadmap phase 2. We start from we have a 7 policy, product, market infrastructures, coordinations, non-governmental support, and human resources and awareness. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 aspect that we would like to focus on the 21-25. So while in the first year, we would like to focus on 3 elements. This is for the policy, product, and market infrastructures. And in the policies, we are highlight in the green taxonomy 2021-2022, and then ESG integrations, and developing the incentive while this is ongoing from the 2021 to 2025. So this is what we would like to highlight, and then this is a lot of program and initiative from the OJK, while we also gathering all those financial institutions and other stakeholders to highlight and focus and taken into account on these 7 elements. Even though that's in this first year, we will develop a national green taxonomy, innovations of product development, and development as the sustainable finance information hub. While this is we also need a national campaign, and then that we will have a sustainability week and sustainability finance inclusions programs. That's to upgrade the awareness of all those stakeholders that have to take into account the sustainable finance. I think that's for the first that I would like to present. Thank you, Mbak Rizky.
Yeah, thank you very much, Bapak Hernawan, for the insightful presentations. We've just now understand the overall of the phase 2 sustainable finance roadmap, where there is a strong keyword inside of this roadmap, which is how we need to have a new paradigm, a new business opportunities, and a new risk management. And there's also a number of needs to enhance the ecosystem of sustainable finance to be in place to create supply and demand on sustainable finance portfolio. Thank you so much, Bapak Hernawan. I will invite, there are already 2 invitations from the audience. One is from Pak Aldo Cahaya. The question is, what is the stimulus benefit from regulators for financial institutions to financing green project or climate-friendly companies?
Okay, thanks. Actually, that's OJK also provided incentive for example, that's for electric battery vehicles, and we call it in Indonesia kendaraan bermotor berbasis listrik or berbasis battery, and then that's providing funds to debtor to purchase battery electric vehicle and or developing the upstream industry from battery electric vehicles. That's we give a special, that's a credit quality assessment for the purchase of battery electric vehicle and or upstream industry development from battery electric vehicle with the selling of up some amounts that could only be based on payment accuracy and principle. And then we give kind of like what we call it, special perhitungan untuk ATMR, then weighted of 75% of calculations of risk-weighted asset. So that special treatment on for the that's we put it as kind of in the green project sense.
Yeah. Thank you, Pak Hernawan. It's quite
yes. It's not easy. I mean that while we give we promote for the green projects, but we also need to proven that this is proven that it will get a profit in this. So in the beginning, that's we try to give a special treatment for this project on the green project.
Thank you, Pak Hernawan. I think the answer is quite clear. There are two initial incentives related to the green finance products. And the second one is from Pak Dadang Purnama. His question is around whether the OJK has already developed a methodology to measure the climate-related risks for the financial institutions, or currently preparing the methodology to do so, Pak. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Pak. Right now, yes, I mean that's we still doing. I mean that's still in the process, in the pipeline. That like what I explained before. That's we start with the green taxonomy, and then with the coordination with other institutions. It's quite complicated, and while in parallel also with the national campaign on this, and then I know that's ESG risk, and then right now just implement. It's only in the some it's in the developed countries. So now we start to doing that, but right now we're still doing a kind of formulate the methodologies.
Okay, I think it's quite clear, got it. So that currently OJK is still preparing the methodology and doing studies on how the OJK could develop the suitable methodology for the framework. Thank you. So I will thank you so much, Pak Hernawan, and I will move to the another speakers. I would like to welcome the honorable and distinguished speakers, the one and only Ibu Francisca Wee. Selamat siang, Ibu Francisca, apa kabar?
Selamat siang, baik, Ibu Rizya.
Ibu Francisca I would say she is the champion at the CMB Niaga in advancing the ESG integration operationally. Ibu Francisca we currently is the Compliance and Corporate Affairs and Legal Director at PT Bank CMB Niaga (TBK) since 2016. Prior joining CMB Niaga, she served as a Legal and Compliance Director and Corporate Secretary in Bank Danamon and Bank International Indonesia, and a member Board of Commissioners of Bank Mandiri in 2004 to 2005. She was also the founding member of and the senior partner of LBAF law firm. She graduated from Trisakti University and won this new law course in Warnborough College, Oxford, United Kingdom. Thank you very much for being here, Ibu Francisca, and happy to have you here in this session. I would like to over this session to you to share CIMB Niaga ESG, including climate-related risk integration journey. You have 15 minutes, Bu, and I will remind you 5 minutes before the sessions end. Thank you. Over to you.
Okay, good afternoon. Thank you, Ibu Rizkia, and good afternoon, Pak Mirsa, President Director of LPPI, and also, of course, the team of LPPI. And then good afternoon juga kepada Pak Hermawan Bektisu Sasasongko, Deputy Commissioner International and Research. Good afternoon also to Pak Ade Cahyo Nugroho, CFO dari BSI. Good afternoon to Blake Cloud, CEO Responsible Finance and Investment Foundation, and also to the participants on this seminar today. This afternoon, that I would like to share a couple of things. First of all, that of course, I would like to touch a little bit what are actually important. Why is it actually sustainable, and also climate risk assessment is important for financial institution. And then I would like to share a little bit of the journey of how we CIMB Niaga coming to the sustainable banking, and also what is the target and the next steps, including the challenges that we are facing. So, and because of the time, we would like to be fast and probably jumping in certain pages. But then, just let me know if I'm too fast, Ibu Rizkia. Okay, let me just start with the next page, please, Lina. Okay, I'm not going to stay long on this page. Basically, we just say that, of course, while we also, doing the business and take the profit, we also have to take care about the people and planet. In this case, so it should be a balance among these 3 P. So next page, please. Okay, I take this chart from the, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, which is, IPCC. This chart is to show how close that we are, that, again, I have to mention again on the Paris Agreement, that we all know that in Paris Agreement, that about 195 countries in 2015, we have committed that we are going to quote the average temperature, global average temperature, not increase more than 2 degrees, and if with the best ever, not to increase 1.5 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial level. So we want to know how far and where we are now. Okay, so this chart to show that, by 2017, we are already reaching almost 1 degree Celsius increase in the average temperature, global temperature. And, so we can see that, in 2040, then, we will really reach to this 1.5 degrees Celsius. And this will really impact to everybody. Of course, including to the banking, also the financial institutions. So next page. This I take also from the Climate Action Tracker, especially for Indonesia. If we look at this, that, in 2014, that we already, the emission that produced or emission in Indonesia is about 894 metric ton CO2 equivalent. If we do the business as it is today, we don't do anything. We don't do any we don't care about this climate risk. We don't care about the sustainability at all. So we will reach about 1,303 metric ton CO2 equivalent by 2030. This definitely is not acceptable. So then, if we actually only focus on the two sectors, here is actually electricity supply and also to the passenger and rail transport, we can minimize the increase if we actually compare to the normal that what we do we don't do anything. We can save about 272 metric ton CO2 equivalent by 2030. So then I can say that if we focus on this two industry, then by 2030 instead of 1,303 metric ton CO2 equivalent, we will just have it about 1,031 metric ton CO2 equivalent. This one actually without considering the other industry, which is if we also focus in other industry, definitely it will be even less. This is not really best, but this is something that we should and we actually could achieve if we really take care about these two industry. A couple of things that actually for these two industry we can do. For example, on the electricity, we can do the renewable energy, and then passenger and rail transport. For example, I think tadi Pak Hernawan juga mentioned about electric motor, yeah, and also change, for example, from gasoline to biodiesel. So there are a couple of things that we have to think of what kind of product that in these two industry can minimize the emission production. Next, on the climate risk and its connection to the financial impact. We've been talking about physical risk, we've been talking about transition risk. For some people that really, as the basic, I think, the understanding is that physical risk is that, which is, pose threat to physical assets, including building, equipment, and actually also including people. And then transition risk itself it could be policy risk, liability risk. I will talk about it later on. And then reputational risk and also market norm change, like Ibu Nuraidi mentioned earlier. Not only shifting the market demand, but also as a pressure, yeah, and also to the investor. That it will impact also our equity or shares price. On the, what is actually the impact to the financial itself? For us, there are actually, I can mention that about direct impact and indirect impact. Direct impact to us, can you imagine if this physical risk is happening, like flood, drought, sea level rise, and then, wind and so on. Then what is really the impact to to the banks or to the financial industry? As a direct impact, for example, our buildings, our branches, if there is a flood, or actually even fire, if there is a flood, then we have a document, yeah, customer documents. We do actually, like in the vault, we have actually some of the asset or some perhiasan and so on being kept by us. It could be actually ruined. Then what happened? If it's documents and so on, that it will be actually increased. For example, our cost, our policies, insurance policies, we actually premium. We actually may also be claimed by our customers. And then what? It means then go back to the transition risk. There is a liability risk. So the customer can sue us in the court. So it's really, really all of this risk actually is a fact. It's not that imagination, that so far, imagine this very complicated, but this is actually very, as fact, as something that in front of our eyes. Like, for example, if there is a flood, there could be actually, impact our telecommunication. For example, alat-alat is flood and then, and then the water, it will impact our telecommunication. electricity shut off, maybe that, even our staff cannot go to the office. Even our staff could be actually, the houses also under flood, and probably also the health of our our staff. So it's really, direct impact to us. Indirectly, it will also impact to the customer, because I mentioned earlier, for example, about all this, the flood or drought and so on. It's definitely, it will impact our customer. For example, for those customer that, the industry or the location of the customer is highly climate risk, sensitive, then, it's really all of this risk that I mentioned earlier will impact them as directly. Indirectly, also the same. They actually have a problem in the supplier, because of transportation and so on, it will impact their supplier. So what? At the end, those customers may not be able to repay us back the loan. So that, it's indirectly, if impact the customer, definitely also impact, the banks or actually the financial industry. So this is something that why we really think that very important for us, to really take into consideration all of this risk, to our business. Next page, please. The previous speakers already talking about, SDG, Sustainability Development Goals, that as an understanding or, commitment from the countries that joined the Paris Agreement. Indonesia is part of them. That, Undang-Undang number 16, 2016, there is a Prudential Decree 59, 2017 on the SDG. And also, of course, we have the POJK 51, POJK 0.03, 2017. We also have a POJK 60, 2017 on the green bonds. So all of this actually, and also now, we have a Sustainability Finance Road Map Phase 2. So all of this, of course, as a basis of, responding to those kind of risks that I mentioned earlier. Next, I'm going to share what is the CIMB Niaga journey. Again, I'm talking about journey because this is something totally new. Yeah, totally new. Yeah, totally new. So then, we really, it's a journey. We have to change our, sustainability vision and mission. This one is not very far from the bank's vision and mission. So that, but for sustainability itself, we actually have a specific mission and vision as the basis of us to change again, paradigm and the way thing that we do the business. Next page, please. We also, you look at the, this sustainable development goals, which goals that really directly relate to our business. And of course, there's an indirectly. We have 5 pillars here to support that, how we actually can reach this, sustainability development goals, sustainability action, then sustainability principles in our operational and also processes. Like, for example, we have to measure that, the usage of electricity, the gasoline, water, and so on. So for us, actually, as the business that, when we come to how to decrease all of this. So then, we try to do the action internally for us, for CIMB Niaga itself. And then the sustainable business is that, we start also to look at the how we actually can generate profit, yeah, in a responsible manner. So then, we can come with a product, product services, like, we do actually, we have a BSI here that, and we actually this year have some sustainability products from Syariah that we are going to start doing this year. Also portfolio and how we actually encourage our customer on their sustainability journey. I'll talk about it later on. Government risk. Government and risk, we govern that, how actually our sustainability report is actually transparent, including that we are going to set the target and tolerance level. We are going to have this target and also tolerance level. Stakeholder engagement and advocacy, actually how we actually being very active in the building capacity, internal, also to our customers. And the last one is the corporate, social, so CSR, how our CSR can support this sustainable strategy in CIMB Niaga. Next. I will not go because of the time constraint. Basically, it's mentioned earlier that on top of all the risks, that 8 risks that usually that we are very familiar to, credit risk, whatever, liquidity risk, and so on. There is actually one risk that we need now to start also to do the assessment. Assessment first to our ourselves. What is actually that the risk of CIMB Niaga itself. On top of that, of the customer sustainability risk. Yeah. So then, we have this environmental risk, economic risk, and social risk. We have this, of course, the governance and then assessment, reporting, and communication. I'll talk about it later on in the next pages in more detail. Next. I jump this, going to be the next one, please. Yeah, okay. This. We do actually sustainability due diligence, yeah, not only to credit, but also to the non-credit. So to the vendors, to our subsidiaries, even actually to the BOD and BOC and Sharia board, and also to the business partners. Like for example, we have a bank insurance. We actually work together with an insurance company. We do actually also we have due diligence to them, whether or not, for example, this exclusion list is for those who are involved on this. Of course, it's big no. But then we do have some very basic sustainability due diligence on the environmental issues and social issues. We look at our partners, whether they have an issues on the environmental and also on the social issues. And then, if they do, for those we are not going to have a relationship with them, and we will put them in the watch list, our watch list. For those customers related to the credit, the same thing. For this exclusion list, of course, we actually say, no. And then, we have, for example, simple sustainability due diligence. But then, if in the sample of the due diligence, they fail, then we have to do the EDD. When do EDD, we use Sustainalytics, and we actually identify whether those customers are considered in the high risk or non-risk. When I'm talking high risk, here is not credit. We are talking about sustainability high risk industry, or actually they are not in the high risk industry. And then we will say whether they comply or non-comply. And if we look at this color, we have 6 colors. We actually give our credit customer in the 6 color. The green is the risk, and the black we say prohibited, and then we put also high risk, and this is actually we are talking about before, is about acceptance. How much is actually that CIMB Niaga can accept this? We should actually put it yearly. How much percentage of our customer that can be in the high risk, the red, black for the red because we don't have any relationship. How much percentage that we actually in the yellow or the medium high risk, yeah, orange that. So this is the acceptance that I'm talking about earlier. Next is in the sector guidance. We actually already identified there are 7 industry we consider as a high risk. The 7 industry, we have a 35 sub sectors. But anyway, the 7 industries that agriculture, or then, forestry, real estate, mining, yeah, and then utilities, constructions, and infrastructure. There are 7 industries we consider as a high risk. And we make a sector guidance. I'm talking about slowly because apparently to make a sector guidance is not easy. So we finalized already sector guidance on the palm oil, on the coal. We are now in the process on the sector guidance for construction and real estate. In the sector guidance, we look at, we say that, for example, for palm oil, what is we expect from them? Yeah, what actually is the minimum expectation from them, and how we encourage them. For example, we expect them to have a ISPO, Indonesia certification, yeah, so palm oil, so ISPO. But we encourage them to have a RSPO. And how many customer, or actually from all the portfolio and palm oil of our customer, how much actually acceptance again, that we accept customer without the certification. Yeah. Today we actually, for example, request our customer that 80% of their, of the plantation have to be certified in the ISPO. So this is, for example, that, we talk about what is expect and how we encourage them, that they must actually, now today, they are not actually reached to 80%, that, by certain years, they will have to certify 80% of their plant, for example, to be certified. Prohibited, for example, we say that, no pit, no exploitation, no deforestation. Yeah, so then, of course, we have a prohibition for this. So each sector, we have the expectation, encourage, and prohibition. So we finalized only 2. We are on the 3rd one, which is, on the real estate. We are going to cover the 7 high industry, which I talked earlier. Next. All of this actually need journey. So we need to have training, how to increase or, the awareness. This is, we do it from all the leaders from the director level, go down. And in fact, we have learning on the go, is that from the mobile. So our staff is mandatory, mandatory to take this one, that sustainable finance or e-learning. Yeah. And in fact, start this year, our CEO, our director, to 3 level below, they have to put their sustainable KPI and their KPI and their balance scorecard. So, minimum 5% of their balance scorecard performance is that, related to sustainability. And then our unit, which is, the one who is responsible to have this framework in the bank, will actually, decide each unit what things that in terms of sustainable that you have to reach or you have to meet by this year. Yeah, so it's 5% is evaluated based on the sustainability itself. So this is something new, but actually to show how serious CIMB Niaga on this one. Next page. These are the things that we already done, or actually some actually in the process that, of course, I'm responsible for this sustainability. Then, to make sure the bank has a framework, we start also going to think about, how to climate change risk mitigation. I have unit helping me on the strategy itself. We already, mapping our internal activities, then portfolio of our customer, as well as actually product that related to which one is high risk, which one is middle risk, that I mentioned earlier. And then, on the risk management itself, we already have the, EDD or CDD or SDD or EDD. Yeah, we enhance due diligence. Enhanced due diligence is done by third party. In this case, it's by my unit, which is, our unit is an independent party, independent unit. We are not in the risk management. We are not also in the business. So it's EDD is done by us as an independent. So will be objective on this one. We do actually have a system to support this, because otherwise, if doing it manually, it will be too troublesome. But then, we have a system to see that, after the EDD or SDD, whether this customer in the green, yellow, red, or high, risk, and so on. And then, on the greenhouse gas, our last year, we already declare our, greenhouse disclosure. Maybe on the next page. Next page, please, Lynn. Yeah. Okay, this one actually is then, our carbon footprint. We declare how much is actually that, the bank is contribute to carbon emission. On the right side, is about 34,000 tons CO2 equivalent. And on the left side, directly, how actually we can, we can preserve the potential carbon stock, which is, because we as CIMB Niaga has this CSR plant bamboo since 2011. So we actually are, using very technical way how to calculate that this bamboo that can, preserve the potential carbon stock. So this one, we actually per area, we just do it on 2 area, whereas actually we have 5 or 6 area.
Bu
And then,
Francisca,
of course, bank digital and so on.
we have
Yeah,
1 more
next.
minute.
Okay, next page, please. There are next steps. Okay, 1 minute, but basically, there are still steps that we have to do. Climate risk is something that very not easy, but we were going to do, the climate risk to assess that our carbon emission that I mentioned, that we already know the carbon emission, how much is actually that we produce this carbon emission, and how we actually can, we can minimize this carbon emission, because we already have the baseline. So how actually we're going to do this? On the strategy, of course, then, how we embedded this, our sustainability or, climate risk assessment will be in doing our business, including on the risk management. This is something that, how we're going to embed this assessment on the climate risk analysis in the credit analysis of the customer. This is something that difficult, but because we have to do some scenario, understand the customer, business, and so on, and all the risk, sustainability risk of the customer or climate risk of the customer. Metrics and target, we're going to have a target on this, but then, it's also difficult because, target, if we don't achieve target, everybody will aware of this, but this is disclosure. Next. Our current challenges, I think, it's mentioned earlier about the awareness, and this is one of the things. Very important, this is awareness not only from the banking side, but also from all the other industries, because our customer is coming from our industry. If we, the bank, keep on doing this, okay, OJK do this, do that, but if the other industry, the other customer do not actually have the same awareness capability, it will be very difficult for us to achieve this one. Second, actually, climate risk implementation. Of course, we need to have a capacity building. Again, to tell you the truth, in the market is still very scarce. So then, is how we have this expert on this, because it's very complex. And then, clients' readiness and acceptance. Again, I think it's still limited supply on the product itself, on the company, and supply on the product that we actually can invest. And also, it's very difficult for us to look into I mentioned earlier about how we're going to do the sustainability or climate risk assessment to the customer. It's not easy for us because there is no disclosure or transparency from the customer. Regulatory push, we need also support from the government, from not only from OJK, but also from other from the government units. Lack of common definition, I think it's earlier mentioned by Ibu Nuraida and also by Pak Hernawan, that we need to have more framework and understanding, common definition and framework on this about the green products and so on. Okay, next. I think the last page is that current needs. Yeah, we need to have a capacity building. Partnership is that, partnership is not only with the, among the government bodies, but also, of course, because a lack of expert, we also need to have a partnership with NGO and also other experts, probably also from other countries who are actually more advanced already on this. So we have to be open about that. And then policy development, we need also support from the government on the regulations. Okay, I think that's all from me. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Bu Francisca. Wow. The progress that have been taken by CIMB Group and CIMB Niaga, hopefully that it can be followed up to by the other national financial institution in Indonesia. You've mentioned that how we can do profit with a sustainable manner, and CIMB Niaga also has committed to establish certain sector guidance on follow sectors in regards to respond to the climate-related risk, including for coal policy, and certain tools to help the banks in making the decision-making processes. And also the last point is we need to be more open with to be working with the other external stakeholders that can cooperate in a collaborative way. Thank you very much, Ibu Francisca, for the very insightful presentations. Now, I would like to invite Bapak Ade Cahyonugroho. Bapak Ade Cahyonugroho is the Finance Strategy and Treasury Director of Bank Syariah Indonesia. Bapak Ade graduated from the Faculty of Economics, University of Indonesia, and earned his master degree on Business Administration from the Erasmus University in Netherlands. Bapak Ade has an extensive experience in numerous positions within financial institutions. He started his career in Bank Mandiri, from Bank Mandiri to Tunas Finance recently. Prior joining by Bank Syariah Indonesia, Pak Ade served as the EVP Finance and Strategy PT Bank Syariah Mandiri and Director of PT Mandiri Tunas Finance. Pak Ade Cahyonugroho, you have 15 minutes, Pak, to delivering the presentations on the preparedness and the vision of Bank Syariah in Indonesia in incorporating the climate-related risk into a business strategy. Thank you, Pak, and I will remind you 5 minutes before the presentation time ends. Thank you. Over to you, Pak.
Okay, thank you, Rizkia. Good afternoon. Yang kami hormati Pak Mirza, Pak Hernawan, Ibu Francisca, and all distinguished speakers. So, first of all, thank you for having me this afternoon. Well, I'm the finance guy talking about the climate risk. So, I think I will try to show some slide. Not a little bit different with Bu Francisca, but I want to show how Syariah principle helping us survive during the pandemic, and then how Syariah principle relevant to the three piece principle. So first, I would like to show some financial information, of course, because I'm the CFO. So just to show you the numbers. So even we are really happy about the progress of Syariah banking in Indonesia. So if you see the chart that we are consistently growth above the conventional banking, and then even during the pandemic crisis. So this is just a little information that Indonesian people respond very good on Syariah banking, and we understand that Indonesia is the largest Muslim population in the world. So this is something that actually really a big question for us, because currently our market share less than 10% in Indonesia. But we also see this as an opportunity, because again we are consistently grow better than conventional bank. And also I have a specific chart. Next slide, I think. How even during the pandemic we can survive. We can still maintain our growth, even our profitability still grow during the pandemic. I think not many banks in Indonesia can survive during the pandemic. It's not easy for all of us. But again, this is for me as the CFO of Mandiri Syariah, and also right now Bank Syariah Indonesia. It is really interesting how possible we can still maintain our performance during the pandemic. And then I think for me as a strategic guys, I think this is something that I really believe that actually if we are not only focused on the profit, but also if we focus also on the people and also how we give a positive impact on the environment, it really helps us to survive. So Bu Francisca talking a lot about the risk from not doing a good thing for the environment. And in this slide, I want to show that by doing a good things, by become a responsible bank, it also help us to survive during the crisis, the economic crisis. So the performance, why Syariah principle important if we talk about the focus not only profit but people and also environment. If we see I want to show that just a very basic principle of Syariah banking. So in Sharia, we do business through three main principles. We call it fairness, balance, and benefit for wider people. So if we talk about, for example, for the profit and loss statement, even in the profit and loss, I think we have a different approach with a conventional bank. We have because even in our profit and loss, we concern on our stakeholder. For example, start from the profit, from the we call it net interest margin. Not our relationship with customer is basically profit sharing. So we are not promising any interest. We are not promising any benefit, but we call it a profit sharing. And this is important because during the pandemic, if our customer has difficulties, we share the pain. But during the good things, if something good happen, we share our profit. So this is like a fair relationship between us and our customer. And the second, from the perspective of employee, we also believe we have to be fair with our employee. So if we have a good performance, they will also have a good benefit, good reward from the company. And then I think the difference between the conventional bank is the main difference is we call it zakat. I think not the only bank that pays zakat in Indonesia is only Syariah bank. So I think before we pay tax to the country, we have to pay zakat like a 2.5%. That this is directly contribute to we call it umat or people or environment. So I think by having this structure, we say that we try to implement directly embedded in our business about fairness, balance, and benefit concept. So this is very important. Yes, we can have like a policy. Yes, we can have like any kind of approach. But if it is embedded on our operation, I think the fairness practice, the balance practice, and the benefit for all people, we can have embedded inside the company. And then in the next slide, I want to show you that, for example, in Sharia bank, we are not allowed to give financing to non-halal industry. So if like Bu Francisca mentioned that in CIMB they already set of target segment that allow or not allow. In Sharia, it is very clear for non-halal industry, we cannot give them any loan, or even we don't have any relationship with them. Means non-halal means we believe. I think as a Muslim we believe that non-halal we are not talking only about the alcohol or cigarettes but we also talking about the industry that friendly to environment. That kind of things is embedded in the concept business of Syariah bank. Even there is a example how we have a different practice with a conventional bank. For example, if our customer that get a loan from us that they cannot pay, or that finally they have to pay penalty, or in Indonesia we call it denda gitu ya. In conventional bank, denda is part of their income, while in Syariah we cannot propose. So this kind of practices, I think if a Sharia bank discipline using this concept, this Sharia bank can give a very significant impact for the social and environment. So in the next slide also I want to show you how we call it, how three-piece has a very strong relationship with the Maqasid Syariah, or Maqasid Syariah as a principle that we use in Sharia has a direct relationship with the three-piece concept. So even in Maqasid Syariah, I think the principle is we have to maintain the religion, maintain our soul, maintain our mind, and also maintain the property or the environment, and even maintain our descendant. So means if Sharia bank, if in Sharia bank practices, actually we have to implement repeat strategy or concept. So we are not only try to get a profit, but also concerned about our people and also our environment. And again, this is something that really, for me, as previously I'm from the conventional bank, this is really something that we believe in the future, with the push from the government and also from the regulator, and by understanding that Indonesian people become more concerned about doing a good things, Sharia bank become more relevant in the future. Next slide. Next. I just mobile banking, good. So this is another example what kind of practice we have in Sharia bank. So if you have a mobile banking from any bank in Indonesia, I think yes, you can do all the financial transaction. But by using a mobile banking from, for example, from Bank Syariah Indonesia, but you can do also the social activities with our mobile banking. So we call it our strategy or our approach to our customer is we are not your friend for your financial need, but we are also your friend to become a better Muslim and to become a better people. So for example, for every transaction you do in our mobile banking, there will be additional offering to do like a donation transaction. So this is an approach that we believe in the future very important, because we believe Indonesian people that they really care about other people, they really care about the environment, and then as a result, for example, 2 days, around 150 to 200,000 of our customer, they use these features. I mean, they every day they do a donation. Then, and the size is quite big. I think in 1 year we can manage until 50 billion rupiah through our mobile banking. So, but by having this approach, I think doing a good things through banking, I think it's something that we believe in the future become more and more important for us. And then for the sector that Bu Francisca already mentioned, a very good example how choose a sector. I think in Sharia, back to the previous slide, I think we are now really focused on the sector that we believe bring a good things for Indonesia. So we really focus on health and infrastructure. Why this sector is very important? Yes, we can do. We can have a policy about the sustainable finance. We can have we can push all the financial institutions to discipline on this practice. But again, at the end of the day, this depend on the people. Depend on the is it Indonesian people understand about the importance of sustainable finance. So that's why we believe through by focusing on education and health and infrastructure segment. This is not only we are focused on a sector that has a positive impact on Indonesian economy. So this is something that we believe right now in Bank Syariah Indonesia, the sector that also friendly to our environment. And again,
excuse me, Pak Ade, 5 minutes more.
Okay. Again, Bu Francisca mentioned about the capability. I totally agree with this. Yes, we have a very challenge, quite a big challenge on the capability of even in our organization to the quality of understanding about the employees about sustainable finance. We try to do some training and also sharing session, and I think back to the Sharia principle, it is not too difficult actually to convince our employee, because this is again aligned with our principle in Sharia banking. And then in the last slide, I think I just want to show next. Back. So by becoming Bank Syariah Indonesia, we are so excited because previously there is no no single biggest Syariah bank in Indonesia. I think the biggest is Bank Syariah Mandiri, number 15 in Indonesia. By becoming together, we are currently number 7. And by become with economic of scale, by become the 7th largest bank in Indonesia, we believe Bank Syariah Indonesia can give a better impact to Indonesia by introducing, by promoting Syariah principle for Indonesian people, by introducing a responsible bank, become more fair, more balanced, and more give more benefit for Indonesian people, and of course for even if we have a very aggressive target in future, we want to become not only number 7, but inshallah we want to become number 5 in big 5 in Indonesia, and we believe by doing a good things, by using a Sharia principle, it is very possible to achieve. I think that's my last slide. I think for the challenge, I totally agree with Bu Francisca and Pak Hernawan. That's also the same challenge we have in industry, also in Sharia industry, banking industry. Thank you, Rizkia. I think that's my presentation.
Okay, thank you very much, Pak Ade Cahyo, for the great presentation from Bank Syariah Indonesia. I think the key points from the Bank Syariah Indonesia that is interesting to be highlighted is that sustainability by nature in Sharia is already embedded under the concept of Sharia.
Correct.
And environmental harm project may considered as a non-halal industry. So I think this is an opportunity actually to develop the Islamic ESG taxonomy on how we could identify or define what is considered as a non-halal industry. And also the Maqasid Sharia has a direct relationship with the 3P concept or sustainability. And the other points that I think is also quite similar to the one that mentioned by Ibu Francisca is the concept of Islamic principle or Sharia principle is that by doing a business responsibly, thus we gain profit. So thank you very much, Pak Ade Cahyo, for the for taking the time to present. And I would like to now move to the last speakers, honorables and distinguished speakers, Mr. Blake Goud, the CEO of Responsible Finance and Investment Foundations. Hello, Mr. Blake Goud.
Hi, thanks. Will somebody be able to put up my slides?
I would like to read out a brief profile of Mr. Goud. Mr. Goud is the CEO of the RFI Foundation, a position he has held since the organization incorporation in 2015. His primary area of interest is in promoting adoption of responsible finance by Islamic financial institutions and enhancing awareness of Islamic finance within the responsible finance industry. Blake has more than a decade experience researching Islamic finance and working in a compliance and investment officer role in the finance industry. He was the chief research officer of the Middle East Global Advisors, where he focused on Middle East and North Africa financial sector development and the growth of the Islamic economy. He was responsible for leading ME Global Advisor research efforts, as well as advising on the content of events organized by ME Global Advisors. He was the community leader of the Thomson Reuters Islamic Finance Gateway from 2012 to 2015. At Thomson Reuters, he conducted research and was the lead author for a number of widely referenced reports on the Islamic finance and Islamic economic sectors. He was involved in organizing large-scale events and one-on-one sessions, including IILM Roundtable in London and Washington, D.C., and the Global Islamic Economics Summit in Dubai, the UAE. Mr. Goud, you have 15 minutes to share on the climate-related financial risk identification report in financial services in Indonesia. And I over to you the session, and I will let you know once the time is 1 minute left. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And welcome and good afternoon to everyone, and thanks for joining, and thanks to LPPI for
helping to bring this all together. So the background for the report that we released today, it's available on our website at rfi.foundation, is looking at the economy-wide emissions in Indonesia and linking it to the different financial sector assets to identify where the concentrations of risk are and where the interlinkages are between different sources of financing and different emissions. It's the second of a series of reports that we're doing covering major Islamic markets, generally OIC countries with significant presence of Islamic finance. Our first report was on Malaysia, and we'll have some other reports coming up in a month or two on the UAE and Saudi Arabia. The reason we focused on these markets, besides the fact they align very much with our mission, is that there's insufficient data on these topics, not just looking at financial institutions on their own direct emissions, but primarily looking at what they're financing and what emissions result from that. And so from that report, we want to inspire people going in further on the data. Top-down data can be useful to point out where some of the major themes are, but each institution really needs to map it and contextualize it to their own context and what's material financially for it to be useful. But this should be a good starting point to support that further work. And I'm looking forward to some of the collaborations that we've discussed under the MOU, which was signed earlier. So the first point is, why are we focusing on greenhouse gas emissions from financed activities? And the main reason is that these represent a cost to the businesses that are being financed, and we heard some mention of this earlier, that are currently being unrecognized. So the Paris Agreement targets to keep warming well under 2 degrees and targeting 1.5 degrees. The emissions, business as usual, we have to see significant reductions. And one way or another, that's going to come as a result of it becoming more costly to emit. And there's a number of different ways on the right-hand side of this slide for how those costs will become internalized. But the main feature is that they will become a cost, and that will affect creditworthiness of companies receiving financing. That will ultimately affect financial institutions, and it will be a systematic impact because it'll affect economy-wide, financial sector-wide, and that's been one of the points that regulators, both in a national context or globally, have been very focused on, is the systemic risk impact. And the Paris Agreement, which we're looking out to 2030, includes, and there's other opportunities to expand blended finance to make more opportunities bankable in climate change adaptation to help meet the overall climate objectives. And with that, I'll wrap it up.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gaud, for the knowledgeable presentations. So I think I could take some of the key points from your presentation that things that is important to be underlined is that banks should analyze the emissions of their clients across their supplier value chain, and regulators should also define the taxonomy based on scientific-based definition. So it's really important on how we could achieve the commitment or to reduce the expected GHG emissions. And I would like to invite all the audience and participants to throw questions. And I already have a few of the questions to share. One question I would like to, there are two persons who has quite similar questions, is Pak Roni Girsang and Pak Butar-Butar, Pak Paul Butar-Butar from METI. his question is more on the whether the energy transition policy is possible to be implemented in Indonesia, in particular in terms of the coal financing phase out, as CNB Group already committed to do that in 2040, and whether the renewable energy policy also affecting the banking transaction. Perhaps Ibu Francisca would like to address the questions.
Okay.
And also,
is it possible? Yes, it's possible. Like Ibu Rizky mentioned, that CNB Group have declared that they're going to exit basically from the coal there in 2014. In fact, CNB Niaga already come up with also policy on the coal that we will follow the group, that we will exit in 2040. We start doing it even today, that we don't have a new, really new, what they call it, new loan for certain coal mining, like for coal mining. Then, of course, for the existing customer, we also put some rules that they will have to comply with a certain minimum requirement. And in a way also preparing them that since we are going to exit for the coal mining. Like for example, of course we divided coal sector is coal mining itself. There is an extraction, there is a contractor. We still allowing a contractor as long as that the owner of the contractor is no more have a business in the extraction more than 50%. And then for the coal-fired power plant, we're going to stop, no more additional loan, as well as for the coal-fired generation. So yes, it's possible. Anything? I mean, is there anything that I missed?
I think it's quite clear, Bu Francisca. And thank you so much for addressing the question. And also, there is a question from Pak Eka dan Wirana to all the presenters. What are the critical success factors in implementing responsible finance? Or I would like to shape a bit more specific. What has intrigued the C-suites or the top management in implementing the sustainable finance, especially the banks that already have certain commitments and sector policies? What has intrigued the CEOs? I think it could also be addressed about Bu Francisca, Pak Ade, and the other speakers if I would like to address those questions. Thank you.
Pak Ade first, or
Okay, I think I believe for the management, if it has they feel significant impact, the importance of sustainable finance, finally they will believe that it is important for them. So for me, I think there is in BSI case, in Sharia case, it's really strong evidence that if we focus on the sustainable finance, this actually bring good things on financial performance. So again, as a management, I think yes, we still have a financial target. So if sustainable finance has a strong relationship with the financial impact, I think it helps to bring awareness for the management. I think that's from my view.
Yeah, thank you, Pak Ade. Yeah.
Okay, for us itself, we go back that our commitment on the 3P. People, people, profit, and planet. But on top of that, we actually been talking about risk. So, without this, there is also risk to the bank itself, because, not only from the customer side, that indirect risk to us, but as well as actually to us ourselves, and also very important, also our reputation risk. Investor, like it been mentioned earlier, that how the investor look a company itself, they will see that how much is actually we commit to this. So then we are also concerned about how our stakeholders also C, CIMB Niaga. So that's one of the why that we really seriously doing the sustainability. So it's only risk to us, a reputation risk, everything. Thank you.
Thank you, Bu. So it's a risk. It's a risk to the business, to the reputations, and to the litigations. And also, Pak Ade mentions as long as there is a rational and scientific base, I think I would add it to the impact to the business. It will be accepted by the senior management team. And I have one question for Mr. Gaud. From Pak Alwin Adityo, do you think the lack of availability of publicly data will be a challenge for Indonesia financial institutions to self calculate their exposure to both physical and transition risk?
Yeah, I think data is critical, and I think it's really important that the data be transparent and publicly available, both on the company side for the financial institutions and to the financial institutions to their stakeholders. And that so far has not been really addressed anywhere in the world. The global reporting on greenhouse gas emissions is still somewhat fragmented. And so that's an area where the taxonomy can really help, at least starting to set out sort of what are the guidelines for high and low, and then further beyond that, stock exchange requirements for sustainability reporting is really important, and having those be focused on climate-related issues, task force for climate-related financial disclosure requirements that Haida from OJK mentioned are also very important and just transparency about how those were derived, making sure that they're science-based. There's the Science-Based Targets Initiative that's very useful in terms of making sure that it's not just arbitrary percentage targets, but it's something that's linked to the global priorities.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So it's not just about regulatory fulfilling our compliance, but also how we could develop a reliable and scientific based tools to help the financial institutions in making their decisions. If I'm not mistaken, I still see Pak Hernawan would like to address about the publicly available and environment data that is currently now being developed together with the Ministry of Finance. That one of the aim is to support the data to support the implementation of sustainable finance, and one of the to answers the previous questions. Well, I think Pak Hernawan already left. So I think the time has already passing the commitment time from the host. It's already 15 past 45 minutes. And unfortunately, we need to end this very insightful and I think knowledgeable information and discussion from the speakers. I would like to convey a thank you very much for all distinguished speakers, Bapak Hernawan, Ibu Franciscawi, Pak Ade Cahyo Nugroho, and Mr. Gaud, for these today's sessions. And I would like also to convey thank you very much to Pak Mirza, the Director of Executive LPPI, and also the rest of the team of LPPI. And I would like to wrap up or to conclude some of the key takeaways that is important to be underlined and to be aware of, and to be hopefully to be followed through by the other national financial institutions in Indonesia. So one is that there are certain points that I would like to highlight. Sustainable finance is a new paradigm, and it's a new business opportunities and a new risk management, which is currently taking into account the E, S, and G, and it should be also be science-based. green taxonomy development could help enhance the implementation of the for the financial institutions, including applies to the Sharia finance, and both for the Sharia and conventional financial institutions should start to develop the green or Islamic ESG taxonomy to help the banking sector or the other financial institution to implement a better sustainable finance effectively. But it is also noted that in developing the green taxonomy, there is a need to supported by a strong scientific base, definitions, and collaboration with certain relevant stakeholders from government and also the private sector finance institution, academicians, and also NGOs. There are a number of need to enhance the ecosystem of sustainable finance to be in place to create a supply and demand of sustainable finance portfolio, and hopefully that this task force or this ecosystem or task force that will be created by the OJK will be facilitating the important needs from the banking sector and the financial institutions. So I think that would be the conclusions of today's sessions, and hopefully it will create a better understanding and also intrigue a concrete actions from the other national financial institutions. Thank you so much, and I over to Ibu Nindya.
Thank you, Mrs. Rizkia. Thank you, everyone. And as a token of appreciation, we would like to present to our distinguished speaker this appreciation flags. And thank you to our keynote speakers, Mrs. Nur Haida, and thank you to all our speakers, Mr. Hernawan Besasongko, Mrs. Francisca Oy, Mr. Ade Cahyo Nugroho, and Mr. Blackgood from RFI. And we would also like to thank you to our incredible moderator, Mrs. Rizkia Sari Yudawinata. And special thanks to all our partners from RFI Foundation and good colleagues here. Also special thanks to Bank Syariah Indonesia and media partner Majalah Stabilitas for all the supports. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for spending time with us today. I hope you found today's presentations and informative or useful and fruitful. Apologies if we couldn't cover all the questions asked due to the limited time, and we also apologize for the lost connection on YouTube channel, but we are back. I also inform that participants that are joining in Google Meet room are 174 and YouTube streaming 478, so total more than 600 participants. And e-certificate is provided with a link. And you can download for all the presentations are available on our website. You can just easily download at lppi.org.id. And you should need schedule or more updated for our events, trainings, and programs. Please kindly visit our website at lppi.org.id or follow our Instagram or YouTube channel at lppi_id. And our next seminar will be Thursday at 25th February in Welfan, so stay tuned. Thank you again for our participants and moderator and all speakers. Thank you for joining us today, and we will see you next time. Bye.